Hey guys, so this is a comic book that I cannot recommend more than any other comic book. If there was only one comic, I'd recommend this one. This is probably my favorite comic of all time, not this one issue here, but it is John Constantine's Hellblazer. And this is a cool story. I think this came out way in the 80s. It came out by Vertigo, and it came out with, I'm not sure who started writing it, but it ended up being all of these writers ended up writing the story, all these artists ended up contributing to it. This became a coolest thing. You can see the cover on this one is awesome. Yeah, it's British comic, so you can see like kind of like a British punk, sort of like a Sex Pistols kind of like cover, which is cool. And I'm thinking that that's Constantine is the guy on the cover, and he's like doing a kind of like a punk band kind of thing. So basically what this is, it's an alternate, it's supposed to be kind of like basically it's basically just a lot of occult, like a very occult world. And this guy's like the master magician in the whole occult world and thing. And he's basically like a magician. He summons demons or like whatever. I don't know if you've seen, if you've ever like read any of these or like kind of know the story about this. It's really cool because what this does, the world this comic portrays is sort of like an occult world come alive. Into more of a mainstream kind of reality where demons are just an everyday thing, angels are just an everyday thing. They come and go, people make pacts, people make spells, people wear all kinds of like amulets and shit. And that's what makes it like really interesting. It's just like he's an occultist in a very occult world, which is like kind of like merged with a very like present day kind of thing, you know, and it kind of works really well. This one, I don't know, there's not really a lot of like of the art to show you guys. It's just, you can see like it's just regular shit. Interesting thing about this one though is you could see like what's cool about these little floppies is that when you look back on them, you see the commercials from the other comic books that were coming out. Here's a Fables comic. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about that one. That's a popular comic and whatever. And then Why the Last Man comic, which is a good story. This is pretty cool. But the thing is, it's like it's on every page. Like you can't flip the page. Like you flip one page of the story and then bam, another like comic, another commercial. So yeah, there's really not a lot of story in this one comic. There's really not a lot. But what's cool about Hellblazer is that now they're all bound in these trade paperbacks, and the trade paperbacks are really cool because there's a lot of story to read. So basically, here's another one, a Neil Gaiman Sandman comic, and you can see like May 2008 I guess that's when this comic came out, 2008. So fuck yeah, wow. So yeah, so what else happens with this guy is that he has, like, it's funny because he's like not like a really well liked person by everybody. And what's nice about the whole drama in the story is he has his friends and he has the people that kind of like his friends or people that he knows that don't like him, that don't trust him, that think he's a loser. But you have his other friends that think he's this great magician and he's really cool. And the cool thing about the main character is he tries to be a good person. He tries to save people. He tries to be the hero. And a lot of times he's just not liked. And I think it's just because even if he tries to be the hero, he often fails at it, which is an interesting way of seeing a story. Like, the hero of a comic book or the hero of any story, you know, it's supposed to be like them saving the day, but it's always more drama when they fail. You know, when they screw up, when they're hated for trying to do something they thought was good, that ended up like kind of like backfiring, or you know, any way the story got written, and it didn't come out that way. So it's really, really interesting how this guy goes. So that's what's cool about also this character. He has like two sides. He's got his heroic side, and he's got another one where he's just a failure, where everything, you know, he does goes wrong and shit. And the thing is about this story is, if you want to like just pick up one of these and start reading them, that's pretty much all you really need to know as a background of the story to get right into the story. You might not know, like, because it doesn't really, it's very, like, you can just start reading it at any point and kind of like enter the story at any point and read it to any point, because most of the actual stories are maybe 3 or 4 little floppy comic books long. So even with a trade paperback, which is a larger comic, they have like several stories in that. So you could read from the beginning, but you really don't have to. You kind of, all you have to know is that, you know, well, you know, you can just like read from anywhere from it. You can just like pick it up and read. You don't really have to know too much about it. Anything that you need to know, you pick up really, really fast. And there's just so much of this story. It goes on for, I think there's maybe 20 or more trade paperbacks, and I think it's been going on for way over 20 years, maybe 30 years. The story's way, way long. And it just goes on that way. I think the earlier stories are better. I do feel like the later stories, some of them, they kind of like rely too much on you knowing what the character is and already being in on the whole story that is kind of happening with the timeline. But when you go into the earlier stories, I think they're a little bit better because they're just kind of like starting out. They're trying to figure stuff out, and everything is fresh and new. So definitely, like, I would say, like, read the older ones first. But either way, they're all really, really good. And because the writers are so different and the artists are so different, that each story that you read is going to be different. It's not going to be this monotonous thing. The only thing that goes on is just the character, who he is, what the attitudes are like, the relationships with him and the other people. But you really don't need to know too much from that. It's kind of all self-explanatory. It's just a lot of like, if you're familiar with like anything like occult-like, which is like kind of like casting spells, or like there being summoning spirits or like angels or whatever, demons or whatever. It's kind of that. It's just a very, very, and it's very, very British. It's like the guy's English, the writers are English, so it's kind of like this British kind of occult-like story. I really do think this is one of the best comics that ever came out. It does definitely stand the test of time, because it's just been so contributed to and so carried on through. And it's just a really great, if you get a chance to read this, Constantine Hellblazer, check it out. And till then, please like and subscribe if you liked my video, and let me know what you think about Constantine, or like any comments would be great. I always answer them. So take care, guys, and see you later.